Google Plus stuff. And so here's what it is. If Facebook and Twitter had a baby, they'd call it Google Plus, or at least that's what Olaf said. And I think there's an element of truth to that. And a lot of what Facebook does well, and a lot of what Twitter does well, is it's combined into Google Plus. And we're going to talk a lot about the characteristics and a lot of the similarities right there. And one thing that's interesting between Google Plus and Facebook. So if you're on Facebook, if you're somebody's friend, they're also your friend. Now on Twitter, you can follow somebody, but they don't have to follow you back, and that's the exact same thing that happens there with Google Plus. So you can follow somebody without them paying attention to what you have going on, and that's okay. But what's really cool about that is that opens up the opportunity to have some really cool conversations with some of the brightest minds in technology, which I really love. And so, Jason Poggioli, he says, Google Plus is a much cleaner way to selectively share data with others. And you do that with circles. So, originally, with all the other different social networks, it was really difficult to send a message to a certain segment of your following list. And now you can do that with Google Plus. And consequently, since Google Plus has launched, Facebook has also retaliated with the same feature now. And so I think that one thing that's really good about Google Plus is it's going to keep Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, it's going to keep them on their toes. It's going to make them continue to innovate, which is very important, because if there's just one 900-pound gorilla running things, they get to a point where they don't have to innovate anymore. So it's good to have a little competition. And for some reason, the level of engagement is higher. Commenting and resharing seems to happen at a higher rate here. And there's a lot of truth to that. And a lot of people are sharing a lot of great information, very, very intelligent comments. There's no character limitations like you have on Facebook or on Twitter. So, your initial statuses can be huge. You can post images, all kinds of stuff. So you can really, really share a lot of valuable information. And what I say is I think it's a connection engine. And that's what I really love about it, because never before have we had this type of access to some of the brightest minds in technology. Now, sure, we could, reply to somebody via Twitter and hope they see it in their stream, or if they're following us, maybe we can send them a direct message and hope and pray that they see it. Well, with Google Plus, it really creates the ability for you to comment on their post, just like if you were a friend of theirs on Facebook. You can like or plus one, whoever you're following. You can plus one whatever they say, or add a comment to whatever they say. And that is different than any other sort of medium that we've ever had. And as a result of that, you really have access to some of the brightest minds in technology. And that's one of the things that I love, the ability to grow our relationships. And so let's see here. What I want to do is show you the quick video. It's about a minute long here. Let's see if it works here.
I don't think people have changed that much in thousands of years, and I think that they're still fundamentally driven by the same internal needs, the same desires, and the same kind of hopes.
Sometimes it's not relevant to talk about certain things with certain people, especially my guy friends, that I don't fill them in on every aspect of my life, whereas I might with my girlfriends or my mom or whatever.
Like in your head, you assign everyone these roles. And you think, these are the people that matter and these don't. And then once you step back and get away from that, you realize, oh, these are the people that were actually there for me.
Yeah, I definitely think that when you're a child, when you're younger, it's just more about showing up and being at a place and then seeing what happens. The idea of in school you just have recess, and that's just a period of time for whatever you want to do, you can do.
There's nothing like a night that was not planned the way it was supposed to be planned. You feel like you are connected to a group of people. You feel like you're part of something.
I know that there are people who are just driven by kind of internal confidence that lets them see their path from here to there. I've never been that guy. I've always been part of a community, and I rely so heavily on the personal connections between me and the people who are close to me. It's fuel.
Obviously, social is lucrative. It's an interesting space, and all of the big players are in it. And even Apple tried to get in it with the ping that they had, but so it's very interesting. They're all sort of copying one another, and they're trying to figure out how they can leverage what their competition is doing to make their product more compelling, to get more users to utilize their product. So it's very, very interesting. And what we're noticing here, is that what is this going to? How is this going to affect the traffic to our sites? Because now Google has this Google Plus thing, and what does this really mean? And when we look at it, we know that Google is going to continue to devour more and more of their traffic for itself. And we're noticing that on a daily basis. And so if you look at this, just for an example, if you type in storage Dallas, we see the first 3 listings on the page. Those are ads. Then the next 7 listings are the Google local. And then the very first organic listing is the 11th listing on the page. And so that's a problem for people who have spent a lot of time on search engine optimization. So now there's a lot of things that people have to figure out. Well, Google is basically putting their stuff up first, and they're going to continue to do that. So we're going to have to be crafty. We're going to have to be creative. We really have to understand our industry. We have to understand our keywords. We have to understand our competition. We really have to understand a lot because, for one, we got to show up on that local map. Those local maps are very important. If you're a local business, you got to be there. It's crucial. Now more than ever, because that A listing on that map, that is essentially the #1 organic listing now for that particular keyword. And so we're noticing Google's doing a lot of changes. They've done some mixed SERP results where they'll take the organic listing, they'll add the local map, and now they're adding the +1 button on everything. So if you notice, there's even a +1 button on these ads. So we can +1 an ad if we want. So they're adding social elements to everything that they're doing. Okay, and it's an opportunity. It's also a problem for some of us who've been doing SEO for a very long time to understand what this all means. Where is Google going with that? And so those are some of the things that we're going to touch base on today, because there's definitely a change going on, and most of the change is going into Google's pocket. And I love this image right here because these are all the tools that's in Google's arsenal, right? They're going after Facebook. They went after Yahoo and took their email over. Chrome, Smackdown Explorer. We got Android going toe-to-toe with Apple. So Google has its finger in every pie, and they just keep adding pies to put fingers in. It's very interesting what they're doing over there. And so what we're going to talk about is Google Plus. And so if you haven't been on Google Plus, you can get to it in 2 different ways. Google.com/ then the plus sign, that'll take you there, or plus.google.com. Those are the 2 ways to get over there. And Google Plus is the new social network. I know you guys have probably heard about it by now, but it's very similar to Facebook, and it's very similar to Twitter. And so you get a profile, you get a news stream or a wall. You can create groups of friends, which they call circles. Now on Facebook, they call them lists, but a lot of people don't actually use the list traditionally just because I guess it's sort of hard for people to figure out or whatever. Another really cool thing is that we have video chat. You can have up to 10 people in what they call a hangout.